Thank you, Dr. Amr.
Thank you. Good morning. I thought I'll share with you some personal experiences that throughout my years of practice in Egypt. I studied architecture in the United States, and I came to Egypt as a practitioner at some time. I don't want to remember how early it was, but it's been a series of explorations that we've undertaken here, and the most fundamental problem that we face as designers is the focus that I'd like to make of this discussion. Because of the special nature of design in this market. Okay? In our context, design seems to be, to a large extent, superfluous. It is perceived to a large extent as a luxury that most people cannot afford. It is something that only the rich or the capable, the financially capable can afford to do. It is something that you beautify with. You know, it is undermined to that extent. It's not something. It's not integrated in the current local culture. It's something throughout the past 6 years that has evolved in our market economy. The designer is someone who is basically living in a dream world. Okay, I'm exaggerating a bit, but intentionally. Okay, but to a large extent, this is what the market perceives us. We are not realistic. You talk to industry and they say, well, these guys are, you know, they like to do beautiful things, they're not really practical, they always cause us problems, they don't understand what industry really needs, what the problems we face, and basically, the designers are dismissed. They don't feel like they are important. And accordingly, they do not employ us. Okay, we can build our own houses, right? We don't need designers to do it. We don't even need civil engineers anymore to make these structures stand up, because it's common knowledge now how much concrete you put into these columns and how much steel you put in there. Everybody knows that, and I don't need even an engineer to do it. Much less do I need an architect. And if I do employ an architect, it's just to give me a nice elevation. The architects have become associated with elevation makers, not as designers. Okay? But there is some fundamental problems. At the source of that problem is we still do not make good business sense as far as they're concerned. You know, industry here, developers aren't interested in making money. Huh? Design has not established how it makes money, at least here. Okay? Externally, in Germany or anywhere else in the world, in the developed world, design has established this symbiotic relationship with industry. It has proven to industry that to grow and to make more money, you need to be more innovative, you need to be more original, and this is what you build your competitiveness on. And for that, you need designers. Okay? But then a designer has a critical role in the competitiveness of industry, in the growth of industry. But it is worthwhile to pay them money for doing that, okay? But they make good business sense. And accordingly, industry sponsors designers by employing them, by giving the breadth, by taking risks on their ideas. Some work, some don't, but this is a risk industry understands, and it's a calculated risk. But it becomes a symbiotic relationship where a designer can afford to stay as a designer because industry is taking these risks on. Whilst here we find ourselves to be a designer here, you need to design it, you need to build it, you need to sell it. And then find some more time to design some more. It's a problem because you have to make the good business sense out of your thing. But why hasn't, one of the aspects of several dimensions of why we have not built a primary role with industry is it's been a seller's market since the early 50s, when post-52 revolution and the socialist structure for our political and economic system, the markets have been closed and imports have been closed up, and accordingly it became a seller's market where whatever gets produced gets sold simply because there's no other choice in the market. And this has stayed on for at least a good 20, 25 years, to a point where it became socially accepted for Egyptians to accept mediocre quality products and copied products that the industry is offering. It became acceptable. It became the norm. This is what you have. Huh? This is what we get. It's not a problem. So we've learned as a nation not to ask for quality, not to ask for what is there. From our perspective, it was copyright protection did not exist. Okay? Accordingly, it is much cheaper to cut out the photograph and give it to a carpenter and tell him, I want something like that. I don't need to get the original. I have someone here to copy it for me. And this is at a scale not only of the neighborhood carpenter, but it's a scale of your major producers here as well. Okay? It became acceptable. It became part of the norm. It became part of the way we do business. You will meet major companies that don't see what's the problem in copying a design. There's no problem. It's normal. We've been doing that for years. Huh? Okay. Now, again, some realizations here to think about. What this has caused us to do is that we have moved to a point where our standards and benchmarks have really gone down. Huh? And this has been transmitted into our educational system. Though, we face these problems in the market, so inadvertently we start teaching ourselves to deal with it. The students don't need to keep up these standards because the market does not require it. Huh? Let's bring the standards down to meet the market needs. Okay? It became a way of doing things. We now deal with what is acceptable locally versus what is acceptable externally. So we have these two dimensions of reality that do not seem paradoxical. Huh? They coexist. Now, if I really do not have to design something and put any effort in it, then why exert the mental effort and the thinking and give it meaning and give it concepts and give it depth? Huh? There's no reason. Okay? So let's draw nice, beautiful drawings, and that would be enough. Have it, and you don't need to actually put in the depth to give it significance, to give it relevance, and to make it something that is much deeper. Now, this is not to say that there are not serious players in the market. There are not people who want to be good designers, who are good thinkers, who want to put depth. But the problem is they are individuals, sporadic everywhere, and there's, we're swimming in a sea of confusion. Things are very hard on an individual level for us to change context. So we're dealing with a context that is very challenging in that respect. And that's mind you, we have over 10,000 graduates of some school of design and engineering every year in Egypt. So by numbers, we are a lot. And by numbers, there has to be a decent percentage of talent within that. So we're not totally stupid. We have good people around. There is an abundance of good talent around. This is a fact. Okay? However, because we are individuals in that context, we're not a collective, we are swimming in all sorts of directions, and we cannot capitalize on opportunities easily, and we don't have a very clear direction of what to do. We're all dealing with the same problems on an individual level, not on a collective level. Okay? And we talk a lot about let's get together, let's do something, let's be one, let's help each other out. We talk a lot, but actually materialization is elusive. We haven't yet succeeded in doing something about that. On the national level, again, jumping back and forth between the individual and national, as a nation, we're wasting a lot of human resources. We're just letting it dissipate. People emerge from universities like yourselves with tremendous amount of energy, aspirations, and I want to do something, whatever, and then you're struck with a market that doesn't appreciate that and seems to be floating in a totally different direction. So you have one of two choices. You ride the wagon and do what the market needs and compromise all these ideals you learned in school, or you insist on keeping them and spend your life fighting and trying to prove that you have something worthwhile to offer to the world, and the world is not appreciative of that. Okay? Because, again, as a nation, we are not investing in innovation and in design, except in rhetoric. Okay? We talk about it, but you come to political, actual, literal investments and real investments. No, it is superficial. It's not real. Okay? Succeeded financially, economically, and became extremely large. Okay? But if you go inside the infrastructure, you will find what is basically a workshop mentality, where there is a master or someone who is dictating, everyone is following a one-man show, and the approach to innovation and development is a purely economic basis. And of course, we've come to depend on imported materials, imported equipment, imported ideas, and it's become easy to simply say anything new, let's get it from outside. Why exert the effort to do it here? And that has led to a real problem on anything we produce, which is negatively branded. There is a negative branding about Egyptian industry in the global markets to a certain extent. Individual companies have to fight that to develop a positive brand image. But in general, people have become skeptical because of bad trading habits and bad ways of dealing with it. Yet, there are assets, okay, that we might not be using too much. Okay? In this world that we are living today, there are assets that are under our feet. We're not really using them. We have very rich cultural reserve, which is an important dimension of feeding innovation and design and branding our national output. We do have a very long design and artistic tradition that goes back 5,000 years. It is a reality. It's not something, a figment of our imagination. And we do have extensive educational resources. We might not be utilizing them to their fullest extent, but they are extensive nonetheless. Crafts tradition is a major resource. And we have a lot of talent. A lot of good people that can be utilized and are underutilized. So this is what I see is, capital that we have under our feet that might not be used in the right way. Now, the market has changed. In the 50s and 60s and whatever, when the revolution came, it was a market of technology. Whoever had the technical skills to produce a product controlled the market. Today, as we all know, technology is not a problem anymore. You can download it on the internet, you can send to any company in China to produce anything for you. It's not a secret anymore. But that problem is not technology anymore. What we're selling today, more than the technical aspects, we're selling stories. We're selling these dreams, the aspirations, which are represented with these new brands, okay, that are competing on the market. And you get your mobiles, and your Chinese mobile and your iPhone are more or less the same technology. They're produced by the same factory and so forth, but you do buy the pay tenfolds for the apple because it's an apple, because it has that brand equity that you feel an affinity with. But the competition today and the struggle that we are, or the challenges that we're facing in the market today are different from what they used to be, say, when I started my career, I don't know, 3 decades ago. So the market now has been divided into 2 segments. On a national level, between countries that produce new ideas and countries that simply produce products. And on the latter scale, we know that the Chinese and Southeast Asian countries have basically perfected the cheap alternative. They're the countries that now have the monopoly on selling cheap. Okay? And accordingly, the only way now the Western countries in Europe and the US have maintained some competitiveness is by selling design, by selling innovation, by being the leaders in innovation. So, going back to our context, where do we stand? Where does Egypt stand? Where do you guys stand? Do we have the potentials to sell design, or do we have the potentials to be known for selling cheap? If we want to be cheap, we have to be efficient, we have to have good sourcing mechanisms, we have to be mass producers, we have to have a high emphasis on technology, we have good quality assurance systems, and we have to have raw materials, okay? If we have most of these components, we can compete on the cheap level. However, if we want to sell design, our focus needs to be on research and innovation, on sustaining the creative capital represented in the young talents that are emerging, and we have to brand the market ourselves, not only individually but or as companies, but also as a nation. And again, we have to have uncompromising quality assurance systems. Our hypothesis is that there's no reason to waste our time trying to be cheap. Our only alternative is to become known for selling design, to be able to contribute to the world original ideas that come from this context, from the people and the designers of this context. This is the only competitive edge that we can develop in this market. Simply because, again, I remind you of all the resources we have, they all contribute to this level of competition in the market. The reserves that we've talked about contribute to building a unique brand for design in Egypt that can only emerge from the stories of Egypt and not from anywhere else. And no one else can basically copy these or attribute them to them. Now, going into practicality and trying to see how do we deal with that, okay? We have to understand what is happening on the ground. We do have a mismatch. Industry and academia are producing two different, are working in two different worlds. Academia is not addressing what industry needs. Industry does not understand what academia has to offer. Accordingly, they are not dialoguing. They are not working together. Likewise, designers and industry as well are opposing directions. They're not speaking the same language. And they don't understand why they're not understanding each other. You know? And of course, if you don't understand why your opposite is not understanding, you say they are stupid, they don't understand. And they go vice versa. And then we're stuck in that position. I practiced architecture for a good 20 years or so, and insisting that we have to do change through what we're doing in these designs.